before. Oh, you already did it.
Yeah, go ahead, talk. It doesn't matter. I can edit anything I
Oh,
need to here.
well, I just wanted to put my teeth in it.
So what you do is just go down there and hit your camera. You can
Yeah,
turn
hit
the
my
camera off for
for
a second.
Okay, well, give me a second to do that. Hit the camera.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to edit this out, man. There you go. Now do whatever you need to do. I can still hear you. Sad old truth, dirty low down. Woo, woo, woo. I wonder, 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 wonder who. Um, did they let me pause this? No, I'm not going to do that because. All right.
Hello.
You back?
Yeah, I'm looking at the camera to see if. Yeah, I'm here. Can you
All
see
right.
me?
I can see perfectly.
Eh,
Look at that. Look at that
look
fucking
at that.
smile.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's just let's see. So I got to cut out like around 2:10. We're good. All
Okay.
right. So boys and girls at home, those of you who do not know my guest, I'm tickled pink, man. This is Darek Jackson. He's a legend in the music business. He's going to be humble and say he's not. I'm not going to go on with all of his accomplishments. I can't think of anything more boring than that. We're just going to get into it. But I will start this off right now by saying that Darek and I met via social media through a dear friend of his that he's known, I want to say, since at least high school, right?
That's right, Reggie Pollard.
Reggie Pollard, and that brother can bang on the drums all day. And that's how Darek and I met. And I remember what it was. I put something up about what was Kenny Loggins' song. What was that song?
Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart. And you're like, I played the bass line on that.
Yeah, I did.
How
Spelled
you
my
doing?
name wrong.
He what?
Oh, it's a funny story. Well, they released the album and everything, the Airplane album, and I looked at the album. I mean, the limo driver brought it over and everything, and I looked at it and I saw this spelled Derek, and I said,
Uh-oh.
"Well, it's spelled my name wrong. It's Darek." So I went down to Patrick Raines Associates, which were handling me, and and through Al and everything, and they called Kenny, and Kenny came straight up to Hollywood, and he said, "I'll be right up there." And he sat me down, and he looked. He says, "Look, little Derek, we just pressed up millions of these, so you're gonna have to bear with that. Everybody will know it was you."
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Spelled Derek, but my name is actually spelled Darek.
Darek, right?
Yes, I'm part Irish. It's actually Darek.
Interesting. Whose side of the family?
Oh, on my dad's side of the family.
What part of Ireland?
He didn't tell me that. He's got this big book, and it's the Reed family.
Okay.
I'm part Irish, part Cherokee, part Blackfoot, and African. I'm a mutt.
Aren't we all, though? Aren't we all?
Yeah.
By the way, man, anyone who's paying attention to this, I don't know, not that it matters. Derek's in Tokyo, Japan. I'm in Los Angeles, California. So for Derek, it is now 11 a.m. ish, 11:15.
Yeah, 7:10. Yeah,
11:10, yeah, and here in LA it's 6:10 p.m. But it's 11. It's Wednesday morning for you.
that is correct. Wednesday morning. My wife just went off to work. She manages a computer firm, and as well as manages everything that I do, including me and my band. Everything.
So you still are playing.
Oh yes, yes. In fact, I'm holding a jam session on Saturday
Okay.
for young musicians to come in, and I'm kind of like an energy vampire. If I find some talent, I put it to use.
Just take all that young energy. But no, but honestly, it's great to be around people with energy because it kind of lifts you up and kicks you into another gear.
Oh yes, it does. It
I
keeps me
just
alive. It keeps me going.
absolutely, because definitely as the older you get, the more easy it is to just go, no.
No stress. I don't deal with stress. I just I found a way to keep living. And it's stress free, and that's just like let things be. Whatever it is in the moment, that's what it is, and it's how you respond to that moment that either harms you or gets you on your way. I don't even argue with my wife. She can go. She.
You sound like that guy right now.
Oh yeah, who's that? Oh, that guy. Well,
You sound
actually,
like the Buddha right now. All
oh, the
right.
Buddha.
So what made you leave the U.S. and go to Tokyo?
They did. That's a story right there.
Well, you'll notice I asked the question because the stories are good for this format.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
as much
kind
as
of
you
a
feel
long.
comfortable saying. Oh,
Oh, I feel comfortable. Look, I have nothing to hide. That's why I still got my youth. Nothing to hide. One day, Al Jarreau, Ray Parker Jr., um, Al Jarreau, Ray Parker Jr., Clark Terry, and Richard Davis. And Richard Davis was an upright player from South Chicago, South side of Chicago, who played for Miles. He's the reason that I got hooked up with Al Jarreau. And that's another story in itself. But anyway, they were playing cards in the basement in Al Jarreau's home on Mulholland Drive, and I was still staying with him at that time.
What year was this?
This was 1983.
So he'd already done his Look to the Rainbow tour in Europe.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We already had done all that
You'd done
stuff.
all that. Did you? Were you on that tour?
I was on all that. And the thing was,
Jesus.
I was the tour guy. I was Abraham Laboriel, one of my private mentors, did most of the recording. I did most of the live work, and also helped with the writing, which I didn't get credit for. This is how I ended up with the Kenny Loggins things, because Michael McDonald and Al
Right.
were utilizing me to get the grooves and the not only the grooves, but the chord variations, how to move through section A, section B, section C. They just allowed me freedom to do things for them. And then it turned out, Michael McDonald started using Nathan East, and Al Jarreau would use Abraham Laboriel on the recordings. So I was kind of bummed about that, and I just looked at Al one day and I said, look, man, I know what's going on. Kenny just released another album with Nathan East, and I had been in Michael McDonald's basement for months. And just he said he'd come up with a groove or something. He said, "Yeah, this just play," and I just would play, and I tell him, "Oh no, good here, a D minor 7 flat 5 with a raised ninth would be nice right here," and then he said, "Oh, that sounds pretty good," and then he'd do that and then stuff like that, and the next thing I know, I listened to the album, and the stuff we were jamming on were actually tunes, and Nathan East was playing the bass.
Oh man.
So I talked to Al, and then I was heartbroken, and he says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I've been helping you out. I helped you out with Roof Garden and Alonzo, and I helped Michael McDonald out, and this, that, and the other." And He says, get to the point. And I said,
Whoa. Al
all I
said
want,
that to you?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
LA's brutal, man.
Yes, it is, my friend.
You
Yes, it
know,
is.
and
Yes, it is. He's telling the truth.
yeah. And he says, how can we make it up to you? And I said, well, you said we. That's a great thing. I said, well, why don't you call Michael and Donald over, and, if he's free, and then we all three can talk. He says, I can do that for you. And I said, cool. So he called him up. Mike flew right over. It took about 20 minutes.
Wow.
You know, he
Wow.
came straight over to Al's house, and all three sat down, and he looked at me and said, young man, he said, you know, you're really incredible, and you've got this raw talent, you know, and, you know, it's just unbelievable. And what can we do? What is your dream? I said, I'd like to play on a hit song. I said, that would make everything smooth for me. He
You're
says,
not
okay.
even asking much.
Yeah, I wasn't asking much, and just wanted to play on a hit song. So we jumped into Al. Al had a pink Cadillac. I think it was a 1957 or 58 Cadillac at that time, pink. And, we jumped into that, and we go
The
down.
rumors are true. Okay.
Oh yeah, man, it's true. Yeah, he had it, and we drove down to what is it, Santa Monica? What's next to Santa Monica?
Venice?
No, Venice. I lived in Venice for a little
Mar
while.
Vista?
You know, Santa Monica, and this it's going.
Palisades?
Yeah,
Pacific
Pacific Palisades,
Palisades.
something like that.
Yeah.
And
That's where they would live for sure. One of
this
them.
big house, and it's
Yeah.
and we ring the doorbell and open it. And there's Kenny Loggins, and I'm like, whoa! I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and we all introduced us. Come in and sit down. We sat down, and
Now,
coffee.
was this pre Footloose and pre?
Oh no, this wasn't pre Footloose. This was after Footloose. And,
So this was after Caddyshack and Footloose.
yeah, it's after that, you know. And
Oh my God! Wow. Okay. So you go to Kenny's house.
so I'm sitting at Kenny's house, and we're sitting at the table having coffee, and Kenny says, "Well, I hear you want to play on a hit song." I said, "Oh, they told you that quick, huh?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I have one. Would you like to play on it?" And I went, "Oh, it would be an honor, sir." And you know, I was 23 at the time, 23 going on 24, and
How old are those cats?
oh, those cats are much older than me. They're in their 30s and 40s, and everybody was older than me. I came on the scene. I was 22 when I came on the scene, you know. And
Oh my God! Okay, now the picture's
that's a
clear.
story.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll get to that if you.
Yeah.
want.
No. Keep going. Listen, it's weird because I've been in this business a long time, not in the music industry in Hollywood. I don't fanboy out much. When you start talking about Kenny Loggins, Michael McDonald, and especially Al Jarreau,
Oh yeah.
to find out that you actually played on the Look to the Rainbow tour, listen, the recording they made in Germany, the album they made, I guess
That album.
wasn't just
Okay.
Germany.
No,
That album
it's
changed
no.
things
It
for
was
me.
the Look to the Rainbow was included. The tour was called This Time. The album was This Time. It became a #1 hit with Roof Garden, but the tour included Look to the Rainbow and everything else in it. Like there's one on my YouTube page.
Okay.
When we were playing in the Netherlands, the whole concert is on my YouTube page.
Okay.
And
We'll put a link to that then for sure.
yeah, I can get you a link and then put it in there in the chat room so that you can.
I'll get all that taken care of. Anyway, it's so I just want to say this. It's a weird place for me to be because I don't fanboy out. I think it's maybe one of the few times in my life ever.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I don't. And as you sit here and start to tell the truth of the behind the scenes of it, and it's like,
oh yeah, it's
et tu, Brutus, et tu.
It's just it was
it's the way of the world, man. It's the way of this
the way of the world. I met all of these guys. We used to hang out together. Anita Baker, we all Gerald Albright. We all used to hang out a lot.
Jesus Christ, you work with everybody.
Dupree, who's started the group stuff. I used
You
to
serious?
do gigs with him. Yeah. But yeah, Kenny Loggins says, so I got this hit. And so he says, will you be free tomorrow? And Al said, yes, he will. It just
That's how
jumped
it
right in.
happens. That's how it happens. Will you be free tomorrow?
Yeah.
Amazing. All
And
right.
so we went to Sunset Sound the
Okay.
following day. And here's Treese Bowden on drums. He was like, who's this guy here? And Michael McDonald says, oh, that's Darek Jackson. Yeah. And he said, oh, nice to meet you. So I'm sitting here shaking hands with people I knew in high school that I used to
Right.
listen to, and Al's there sitting in the booth. Michael McDonald's basically controlling everything in the room as far as our playing is concerned.
Mm,
And Kenny Loggins is sitting in the booth,
mm.
right? It's at Sunset Sound. So he goes, all right, here's the charts. And I heard you don't like reading notes and stuff. And just like chord charts. I said, who told you that? He said, Michael. You just create grooves. He said, so I'll give you a two-time run through on this song. And I said, okay. So Michael starts playing the piano on it and everything. And I start fiddling around with it and everything. And the first time around, this is the B section. Here's the interlude and this and that stuff. And then I'm looking out in the booth, and there's David Sanborn.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm going, well, what's he doing here? And Kenny pushes the button and says, well, he's playing on the song too. You said you want to be on a hit, right? I said, yeah, yes. He said, all right, do another run through. So we did another run through. And then, I played that run through really great. I just knocked it out. So it's okay, take a break. So I took a break, and we all went back into the booth, and we sat back and listened. And then Kenny and Michael looked at each other and smiled, and they shook their head. And Michael told his roadie, he said, give me the basketball. And roadie went and gave him a basketball. And I said, what's the basketball for, Al? Al wasn't even part of it. He was just hanging out there with me and smiling. He said, well, you're going out back to play basketball right now. You're getting triple scale. I'm going, what's triple scale?
You're getting triple scale? Oh
I
my
got
God.
triple scale,
Oh
and
my
we played
God.
basketball for about an hour. Then I go back in, and Kenny said, okay, let's take one more take, and then we're done. And I said, okay. So I did another take, and we went back out and played some basketball some more. So we spent close to 7 hours on three of those playing basketball. And they were mixing it down and everything. And I walk in, and then David Sanborn's playing, in the bridge section and everything. And Kenny, he said, I'll call. He said, we're done with you, Darek. And it's wonderful. You did a great job. He says, I'll call you back, just for cleanup, in about a week. So I came back in a week, and Kenny had all his vocals and everything was done, and he sat in the studio with me on the bass, and he said, I just want you to do some touch-ups here and there. I want you to lock with the drum, don't sustain the notes, and just tighten it up a little bit. And I said, okay, fine. So I did that. And he said, okay, we're done. He said, this is great. I said, I'd like to tour with you as well. He says, well, I kind of got Nathan under contract right now. Nathan's out of San Diego. Nathan East, he's born and raised in San Diego. And I said, yeah, you guys got to go on like that. I understand. But if he's not available, you can always call me sometime. He said, sure, I'll do that. And that's how that went, And next thing I know, I get a call from Patrick Rain's Associates. And he says, the song hit #1 on Billboard. You happy now? And I went, I'm happy. I'm happy. He said, what? I said, I'm happy. I'm pleased, shocked, and happy. And they just fell out laughing. It was a great story.
That's a fantastic story. Holy shit. You're 23 years old. You've
Yeah,
really been in Hollywood for like a year, right?
yeah. Well, how I got there is really funny. I started out in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. I've got some friends, Reggie, of course, and
Sure.
some friends don't want their names utilized because I keep my circle small. And I was working at a little what do you call it, music shop in the back teaching students bass. And the guy's owner, his name was Barry. And he had another friend who had a club, whose uncle had a club in Iowa, Burlington, Iowa. And I also play guitar. So acoustic guitar, I used to play, for the keg parties and stuff in high school. And, I'd play bread and all this stuff,
Sure.
And, I was well-rounded musically. So anyway, he says, this guy wants you to come out and do a 3-month stint in Burlington, Iowa at his bar.
Wow.
And would you be willing to do that? And I said, yeah. I was like 17, and I went out there and I did that. And I started, I worked 5 nights a week and making people laugh and playing acoustic guitar. And after about 3 weeks, this guy named Charlie, he had a disco group. He comes in on his break time and he hears my jokes, laughing like crazy, him and his singer, laughing like crazy and watching me play acoustic guitar. And he said, hey, on your break, would you like to come on over to where we're playing? We're hitting right around the corner and doing disco and stuff. Do you know any disco tunes? I said, yeah, no problem. So I went over there and I sat in and I played bass because I told him I actually play bass. He said, "Oh, get out of here." I said, "Yeah, I play bass," because they wanted. He said, "Do you want to play guitar?" I said, "No, bass is my main instrument." So I played bass, blew him away. Everybody just was blown out, And he looks at me. He says, "How many more weeks you got at this Burlington bar?" I said, "I got 3 or 4 more weeks left." And he says, "When you get back to Cleveland, here's my number. Call me." And they brought me to Madison, Wisconsin, where they were. And I called them, and I took a Greyhound bus to Madison, Wisconsin. And we started doing the hotel tour all over the United States. They got all these hotels, And I got so recognized that I had a manager. I had an agent who I would be on call to go to different other disco bands and sit in on bass when their bass players were sick or whatever it was. So I was based out of Madison. So I got bored on my downtime. I got bored. So I went over to the University of Wisconsin, which is in Madison. And in those days, you can sit in the back of a class and, just as long as you were quiet, you could learn stuff. So I sat in the back of Richard Davis's class and he was teaching jazz, and I also sat in the back of Bruce Lipton, who's a biologist, a well-renowned biologist, because I love science and biology, and I sit in the back of his classes. But the kicker is, sitting in the back of Richard Davis's class, there's some students that were like getting D's and C's and D's and messing up, and I took it upon myself one day to say, hey, if you run the chords this way, no, you want to put an A minor there. And then you want to resolve that going here. And I started explaining to him about the energy of, it's like painting, you got to paint a picture. And I was explaining, and I helped him out. And I basically just laid his chord chart out for the song Richard wanted. And the guy gave me $20. Well, ding dong. I was like, I can make money doing this. So I started correcting charts like crazy, for cats,
I'm sorry, did a $20 bill just cross your palm? And that's in the 70s, right?
Oh man, this is in the 70s. Yes, the 70s.
$20.
I think it was. Yeah, 78 or 79. Yes, and anyway, I was making good bank. At least twice a week, I would get anywhere from 120 to $200 just correcting charts until Clark Terry, the trumpet player, they both were professors there. And Richard got together and Clark said, hey, Richard, you know what? I see a pattern here.
Derek sits in the back of the room and the students start paying him.
No, that's not the pattern that they saw. They saw the pattern in the arrangements. They called in like 5 or 6 cats,
Oh, they tuned into you. Okay.
They turned me in because they said, look, you're going to tell us who's doing this, or we're gonna fail you. You know, they said it's just this kid. His name is Darek Jackson. And does he go to school here? No, he lives off campus. He's got his own apartment, but he's always hanging out at the beer gardens and stuff like that. You know, sitting in and playing, and he sits in the back of Richard's class. And so Clark Terry look at Richard Davis and he goes, "You tell him to get that guy in here. We want to meet him."
I'll bet.
So they came to my apartment, 4 or 5 cats came to my apartment, and they said, "Derek, you got to come down to the school, otherwise we're going to fail." And so I said, "Look, man, can I go to jail for doing this or something?" They said, "No, man, you're just correcting some charts, and they busted you, man.
You're so innocent. Can I go to jail?"
Yeah, I thought I was in serious trouble.
Bless your heart, brother. I love it. Can I go to jail? Your crime of teaching them how to play better music. Yeah, okay.
It's some funny stuff, man. So I show up.
I want to know who was your influence? Because at 17, 18, 19, that's still really young, man.
Who influenced me?
Yeah, where did you learn? Just listening to you talk like that, I don't hear a lot of artists talk like that in that age. Like you have to look at it like a painting, man. Bring the brushstroke in here. Like that happens much later down the road before most artists start to look at things like conceptually and contextually in another way other than just, and they just don't do it. And when they do that, the game gets elevated. So who was your influence?
Well, my mom was a classical pianist.
Wow. Okay.
And my mom and my dad was a jock. And I was born in Akron, Ohio, at Akron Metropolitan Hospital. You know, and they didn't marry.
You're an Ohio boy through and through.
Yeah, they didn't marry. They both married separately. So I was born. I was kind of like you know, the kid that nobody wanted. My mom, she didn't want to see me because my dad had left and went into the Korean War to run away because, you know, he had a kid and his family. My father's family was into politics. They had money. My mom, she lived with my grandma and her 5 siblings under her. My mom is, we call her Chojo. She's the oldest. That in Japanese we say Chojo. And she didn't want to see me. So the nurses kept telling her, "You got to see this kid. He's all spunky and happy and everything." So she was like, I'm not ready. And finally, after about a couple of weeks, she agreed to see me, and they brought me in, and she just never let me go. And she took me.
Oh man!
She took me to 1142 Smith Farm Avenue. I still remember my grandma's house. It's on a hill.
You remember that as an infant?
Yeah.
You remember that? See,
yeah.
You're a whole different breed of cat. I knew you were. I'm so glad we're finally getting to do this.
Look, my mom had me reading at 3. I mean, she sat me at the piano and she would play Liszt and Beethoven and Bach and, you know, different types of classicals, you know, players stuff. And, you know, I said, "Mom, I was listening to that in your stomach and stuff." She going, "Huh?" I said, I heard a lot of those tunes. I was listening to that stuff, you know. She goes,
You're
"Yeah."
kidding me.
No, I'm serious. And they used to call me, you know, little Mr. Walkie Talkie, you know, because I wanted to know everything. So she had me reading. I was about 3. By the time I was 4, I knew the 8 parts of speech: noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. And she would have me spout off the meaning to all of them, you know. And she would do this as a ritual every week. She would go through that. And she said, "This is going to carry you a long way. And you learn how to talk to people, and
100%.
you learn how to write."
That's right.
And she was also the president of my elementary school's PTA, Parents Teachers Association.
That's right.
So I had no way out. I had to be a student.
I had no way out.
No way out, man.
All right. Don't apologize. That's fantastic. Listen, I got to tell you, There's a couple things I want to say. First
Oh,
of
go
all,
ahead. I'm sorry. I'm a blabbermouth. Go
no,
ahead.
it's your baby. It's called the Darek Jackson Experience. It's going right across the bottom banner there.
Oh gosh.
My wife spoke to my sister-in-law's belly when
Mm,
she was pregnant with her first child, Ralph the Fourth, and she would recite the multiplication tables to him.
right.
Don't you know that little boy came out and was fascinated with math and numbers and now works in finance for the city of Atlanta?
See, that's how it works.
Okay, so I'm going to tell her this, and she's going to watch this and go. So my
That's
my
it.
wife is going to just like kindred spirit with you immediately. Second
Oh,
thing is you getting
that's
rooted. You got rooted in classical music,
that is correct. That is correct.
so your foundation is strong. You're not
Well,
just sitting there playing the chords for the chord's sake. You understand how they're used in classical music, hundreds, if not
the Rock
thousands of years
C,
ago.
Rachmaninoff was my favorite. My mom asked me, "Well, which one was your favorite?" I said Rachmaninoff, and she said, "Whoa!" And I also loved art. I mean, I was reading. I was always at the library because whenever I got in trouble, my mom didn't spank me. If I got a C or a D, it would usually be in gym. Because my stepfather was kind of he was kind of an abusive person.
I'm
He
sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's okay. That's all part of the growth process. You can't have the left without the right. Everything is up, down, left, right. You know, yeah, everything works that way in life. So my mom finally figured out why I kept getting C's and D's and straight A's and everything else, but in gym, you know, and he would spank me for that. But my mom, she would send me to the library. you know. And I was in heaven. I mean, there was books everywhere. I was reading everything. Kafka, Dostoevsky. I was reading all these books and philosophy books and books on painters and what you call regular artists or whatever it was. And I became the president of the art club, the kids president of the art club, because I was attracted to this little Asian lady that ran the library. I just could never stop staring at her. And she would recommend books for me to read, and I would read them and just like
Yes,
to talk
ma'am.
to
Yes,
her.
ma'am.
Yes,
Go
ma'am. You
talk
know
to
how a
her.
little kid is when he's starstruck. He's just, I mean, I don't know what it was about that little Asian woman, but she didn't speak her how do you say it, her formal language. She spoke fluent English, so I
Sure.
never heard her speak anything but English. So I think she was an American Japanese or American Korean or something like that. But she was gorgeous with her glasses on. I was smitten. So
I
anyway,
understand. I understand.
I started reading these books and stuff like that and getting all this information. And I met this guy named Larry Marcus. Now, Larry Marcus ran a group called the Rude Boys. That's a long story. I helped him to put that together. I gave him the roadmap on how to put that together.
Okay.
The Rude Boys won a Grammy eventually, but Larry Marcus is nephew of BB King. So that's
Oh, okay.
that's how this started. And he had a guitar and he'd let me borrow it, and I would borrow his guitar and listen to Grant Green. There's a guitarist named Grant Green. I would listen to him. My mother made me play in the foyer in the back of the house, and I put the record back and just keep listening and following what he did, just verbatim, just every lick that he would do. I would
Amazing.
just learn that. And then Larry came by one day and he goes, "Hey, BB's in town. Would you like to meet him?" I go, "Yeah." So I go to Larry's house and BB King sits us down and he starts showing us the blues. He said everything came from the blues, and we were listening and he would play and then we would play and he would correct our hands and show us different things to do and stuff like that. What that went on for a couple of years,
How old were
and
you at the time?
at the time I say I was about, I think I was 9 or 10.
Good
Yeah,
Lord, Derek.
and I
Good
had
Lord, Derek.
I got lessons every 3 to 6 months from BB King,
Oh,
and me
nothing.
and Larry
Just
played.
BB King teach me how to hold the guitar.
Oh
All
yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So on the guitar, and me and Larry would jam in the garage, and folks would come by. The garage door would be open in our driveway, and folks would come by and put money in the can, and it was really cool. Except that we were both playing guitar, so I told my mom, I really like to play bass, and I was entering the 7th grade now. Now this is a strange story. I graduated valedictorian of Woodland Hills Elementary School.
I'm not
There's only one
surprised.
There's only one girl that beat me. Her name was Deborah Maraska. I never forget her name. Uh, yeah. It's a Polish neighborhood, So and uh, and about 6 blocks away, it was all African American neighborhood, and it's strewn with poverty and stuff. So I'm living down in the Polish area and everything. Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, the whole thing. And so
Living a different life.
living a different life, and I'm eating Polish food and going over their houses. I'm welcome. I didn't know anything about racism, nothing. You know,
You're a
except what I
kid. You
saw.
just you just play with the hand you're dealt. You don't know anything
Yeah, I
else.
just played with the ham and I dealt. And so my stepfather, I mean, I got a scholarship to go to South High School, which is an all white high school, and it's the top high school at that time in the area where I lived. So my mom's crying one day. I come home from school. I'm all happy. The next day I come home from school, she's crying, and she said, "I'm sorry, but you can't go." I said, "Go where?" She said, "To South High School." It was a junior high school. It was a new thing, man. Junior high and high put together, And my friend Chucky graduated from there, and he moved to L.A. and he worked for some airplane company. And anyway, but yeah, so I couldn't go. I said, "Well, why, Mom?" And
Yeah,
she said,
why?
he doesn't want to pay the bus fare.
Your
And I
pops?
said, I can walk. I said, I can walk there. And she said, "Derek, you don't understand. You walk in there, you might not make it there or make it back." And I didn't understand what that was about. Well, it was
Damn.
because of racism. I would have probably gotten beaten or killed or something. But the excuse was he didn't want to pay the bus fare. So I had to go up to like 9 or 10 blocks away to Nathan Hale Junior High, and that was an all-black school. So, so I get in there, and they're like 2 or 3 grades behind. School was just easy for me. I mean, I sit there and not paying attention to the teacher, and then the teacher said, "Did you hear what I said?" And I go, "Yeah, I heard you." Okay, so can you answer the question? And I said, "Sure, I can answer the question." And I answered the question, and everybody just looked at me and said, "You're not even looking at the book." And I said, "Well, I had these books in the 5th grade." So I was like, hey. So,
That could not have made your school go any smoother.
oh, it got worse.
Of course it did.
We got wood
There's
class,
this young brother coming in here showing us out, not even paying
oh man,
attention. He's got all the answers.
I was made to stand in the hallway. Mr. Mukes, Mr. Mukes, my French teacher, he had me stand in the hallway so the students could learn because I was eager to do to help. So we're in wood shop one day, and the school bully, I didn't know, he had been in the 9th grade for 3 years or something, and his name was Boone. And he kept throwing balled up spitballs and shooting them through straws and throwing balled up paper at the teacher as he was putting stuff on the wall. So
Oh wow, the teacher. Okay.
so the teacher turns around and says, "Who did that?" And I'm sick of this. Who's doing this? And everybody in the classroom was quiet. And he says, "Okay, if you're not going to tell me who's doing it, then everybody's going to stay for detention." And I went, "He did it." I'm not going to stay. So everybody turned around and looked at me, and it looked like all the blood ran out of their faces, And I was just like, "What?" I said, "Boone did it." He said, "Thank you, Derek." And said, "That's fine." So everybody was quiet. Boone had to go down to the office. the principal's office and everything. So the class ended. We're getting back. Boone's coming back. He said, "I'll see you at 3:00." I said, "Why? Why? What do you want to see me for?" He said, "You'll see." I didn't know what's going on. And then I'm walking down the hallway, and kids are looking at me and they're going like, "You're gonna get your ass kicked, man. You're really you're gonna kick your ass." And I was like, "Get out of here." I said, "Over what, man?" I mean, I told the truth. He did it. I'm not. We all would have been in detention. I didn't want to go to detention. I had stuff to do, you know. So 3:00 to go out there, and there's a big circle of people, you know, and Boone's in the middle. So I'm trying to negotiate with this guy, and he clocks me really hard, you know.
Yeah. Bullies don't like to talk.
Oh, he starts getting busy, so I'm fighting him back. You know, and my nickname was Shorty because I was kind of small, and I'm fighting the guy back and everything. Next thing you know, I hear a shotgun go off, boom, in the air, and it was my first student. His name is John Scott, a bassist, and he had his grandfather's shotgun, and he kept shooting it in the air, and everybody scattered and everything. So I'm laying on the ground, just pulverized, still trying to get up and swing, you know, and. So John Scott took me to his house. I stayed there 2 days before my mom knew where I was. And
You really did get beat.
I got beat pretty bad. His mom took care of me. And my mom and his mom took me over to Boone's house. And Boone's mom, once she found out what had happened, she abused him. She beat the crap out of him and right in front of me, made me watch. You know, and I was like, I didn't want any of this. So if you ever touch that boy,
It's a shock to you. The whole thing's a shock.
oh, it was a shock. So, you know, I'm going to school now. I'm really quiet. I don't answer any questions, you know, and I'm still getting good grades. You know, people ask me stuff and I say, just read the book, man. You know, I'm trying to blend. I have to blend in. There's no place for me to go. And so in the 8th grade, they offered band class. So I said, oh, this is cool. I can get an upright bass. So this is how they set it up. So you got all the kids right there and say on your mark, get set, go, and grab an instrument. And I couldn't get the bass; it was gone. So only thing left was a trombone. So I had to
Don't
take the
tell me you played
trombone.
the trombone too.
Yeah, I actually played the hell out of it. So we're doing what is it? The Odd Couple. You know, we're doing it, and he goes, "Okay, here's the charts, and take these home." So I took them home, and I asked my mom, you know, I said, you know, can I have my allowance? And she goes, "Why do you want your allowance so early? It's not Saturday." I said, "Well, tomorrow we got to play this song called The Odd Couple. I want to go by it at 45, you know, and learn it." She said, "As long as you're doing it in the basement." I said, "Okay." So I went down to the basement and I had my little red and white record player and I kept putting it back and just, you know, you got 6 positions on the trombone and I'm learning this song and I got it down. And it's about 2 a.m. She said, "Derek, don't you think you need to go to sleep? You got to go to school tomorrow." I said, "Okay." So I packed up my school trombone and went to sleep, went there the next day. And you got a first, second, and third trombone. All right. So I was the third trombone. I'm the new kid on the block.
Sure,
I never
sure.
played. So they start to tune out, and I'm getting into it. I close my eyes. I'm going and going and going. All of a sudden, everybody stops. I'm still playing and everything. And here's the music teacher. I open my eyes. He's standing over me, and he's got my chart behind his back, and he's looking at me. And he said,
How the hell are you playing
"Played all
that?
that from memory?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You weren't reading anything." I said, "No, I memorized." He said, "Overnight?" I went, "Yeah." He says, "You got to go to the office." They
You
called
got
my
to go
mom.
to the. Okay,
I had to
okay.
go to the office. He called my mom, sitting in the vice
Interesting.
principal's office, and the music teacher and my mom are talking, and the vice principal are talking, and they come to me, and I'm thinking I'm in deep doo doo, you know, because I'm always thinking the worst. I was pessimistic in those days, and it wasn't that. And they said they're going to send you to the Cleveland Orchestra's first trombonist to privately train. I said, "What?"
Thank God. Thank God. This has a good ending.
I said, wow, yeah, you would think so, right? So it's all paid for. Your bus fare will be paid for, and you're going to study under this guy. So I went down there, and we're working on aperture and everything, and I'm I'm following his aperture, but I'm not getting the tone that I hear in my head. I'm not getting that tone. His tone is just sounded too boxy, too stark. I just couldn't get that tone. So I would switch back to get the tone I wanted on what he was having me read and play, and he smacked the trombone out my mouth.
Whoa.
And you have to play with this aperture. You understand? I need you to press hard. I need your jaws to be like this, and he's messing with my face. And I went through that for about
Whoa.
3 or 4 weeks until I just started taking that bus here and going downtown and hanging out. I would hang out, you know.
And a musician was born.
Yeah, I was just hanging
Amazing.
out downtown, and I learned all about my city and everything until that phone call came to my mom. I come home one day from downtown, and she goes, "What were you doing?" And I said, I went to the trombonist, and she said, "No, you didn't, Derek. You haven't been there for a month." She said, "What have you been doing?" And I had to explain it. She sat me down, explained. I said, "Well, he's abusive. He knocks the thing out my mouth, and he wants me to play with the exact aperture that he plays with, and I hear it a different way, and he doesn't care, and this and that." And she says, "So you don't want to play it, right?" And I go, "No, Mom, I don't want to play it. And so I want to play the bass. I wanted to play the bass,
I've
That
been
way me and
telling
Larry
you.
can play together.
Yeah.
Because Larry play guitar and I'll play
Yeah.
the bass."
Right.
So she went, "All right, so no more Cleveland Orchestra stuff. I'll get you a bass for Christmas." So Christmas rolls around. She went and got a used bass with 2 strings on it. And
2 strings on it.
2 strings only. Yeah.
Whew.
And I was elated. I was happy. And she had a little amp with it too, a little T-Sco amp, and I took it down in the basement, and that's when the Jackson 5 had on "I Want You Back,"
Sure.
"Oh, darling, give me one more chance.
To
So
show you that I love you. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
please. So I'm down there listening to it and putting the record back and just listening to it. And my sister came down and she started doom to doom to doom doom to doom. And she goes, "Mom, you gotta come see this. You gotta come down." And she brought my mom down there, and my mom's mom, she was
You're doing all this with 2 strings?
just right. That's what she said. She goes, "Derek, you learned how to play "I Want You Back" on 2 strings?" I
You're a
said, "Yeah."
freak, man. You're a freak.
It was some freaky stuff, man. She said, "Well, let me go get you a set of strings." So I didn't think
Seriously.
seriously about a bass. That's
You're
why
a
I only.
savant, Brad. But Jesus. God, wow.
So she got a set of strings for me. So I finally had 4 strings,
Uh-huh.
and me and Larry could put a band together. And our garage band grew. We got a drummer named Sammy. Oh man, we started playing around and stuff and
How old are you
doing
at this
gigs.
time?
I was at that time. I was about 14.
14,
13.
15, I was going to say.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no, no. I was 12. I was 12 because my mom died when I was 12 and a half. She
Oh,
had a
my
stroke.
God. She
She had a
did?
stroke. And
I'm
you don't have
so
a stroke
sorry.
because it takes the ambulance 40 minutes to get there in those
I mean,
days.
I'm trying not to touch on some of the things you said, but yeah.
Oh, it's okay to touch on it, man.
Well,
I'm good.
yeah, there's a lot. Well, there's a lot there, man.
Yeah, I
First of
watched her.
all,
I watched her go. At least I watched her go. And when the ambulance got there, I said, "Ain't no use pulling out anything. She's gone." And my stepfather, he clocks me again against the wall. And I knew right then that I was going to have to move out because I wasn't really his son. She told me. She had me believe me he was my dad for a while. That's why I let him abuse me. So,
oh wait, so
so,
this was her boyfriend at the time,
no,
or her
no,
husband?
yeah, that was her husband.
She
Uh,
remarried. Okay. Well,
she
no, they
never
weren't
married my
married. They
dad.
weren't married. Okay, right,
They
right.
weren't married. They were both 18 when I was born. They weren't married. They married separately. They went different ways. So his name was King, Donald King, and I knew right then that I was out of the house because I wasn't his actual kid, which
At
actually
12
is.
and a half years of age.
Oh yeah, I was homeless. So he kicked me out,
Wow. Wow.
and And I had been, my mom was singing with these Baptist churches and stuff and playing piano for them. So those people on Sunday, I'd go there, and my mom died, and Larry Marcus helped me out. He told his grandma about it. I stayed at his home for a few days, and we go to church, and then church says, "Well, we'll pay you some money if you play bass in the group." Because Larry's just playing guitar, and there was an organ player. So I said, "You will?" And they said, "Yeah, and we'll even provide a place for you to stay." And I said, "Cool." So I started traveling from church to church, playing and surviving.
Wow.
So I learned gospel. Gospel is heavy, man. It's really difficult, especially when they get that drive going. Do 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 do. They can have that thing going for 40 minutes, man, because people get the Holy Spirit.
I was just gonna say the Holy Spirit and they're dancing. Yeah.
Oh man, you got to have stamina to stay in there, man.
Oh, listen. I was talking about this earlier on an interview this morning. I was like, listen, I wasn't much for these. My father was Muslim. He was raised Muslim, never practiced.
Okay. Yeah.
Born and raised in Iran. And my mother was raised Mormon, and really couldn't wait to get away from that. but she did take us to the Mormon church when we were growing up. And I mean, listen, my relatives are going to listen to this stuff. They're going to be like, I can't believe he talks about the Mormon church. That's not right. But it was so dry and dusty and boring. I remember the first time I went into a predominantly black church. In fact, it was predominantly. Who the fuck am I getting? I was literally the only white person in there. And,
that had to be an awesome experience.
It was fantastic. Are you kidding me? I walked in there and they're up there. Oh, wow. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then he started playing his drums, and the guy's playing the bass, and they're playing like, okay, not the favorite thing in the world, but they got a beat and they got a groove, and they're singing, and the choir starts singing, and they sound good, and there's call and response from the pulpit to the congregation. I'm like,
that's correct. Yeah.
Come on, man. I didn't know this existed. Why did I have to wait until I was 22 before I found this out?
Oh, man.
It was great.
I learned everything in the gospel. I learned jazz playing gospel.
Of course you did.
R&B, everything. I learned all that.
Whitney Houston learned how to sing in church. Every decent singer learned how to. Yeah.
Oh, everything.
Other thing I wanted to touch on, you said.
Oh, yeah. The Al Jarreau got contacted by Richard Davis and Clark Terry.
Of course.
When I was at
Al was from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Al was from Wisconsin.
I told you I loved Al.
From Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, right.
Richard Davis contacted him when he was down in Milwaukee on a break time.
Wasn't Al teaching grade school or high school at the time?
No, Al actually
before he started making money.
He had graduated at the University of San Francisco or something. He in psychology degree and stuff.
Yes,
he was actually singing, and he was under Patrick Rain's associate there, and he was just getting ready to do the this time album, and So Richard Davis and Clark Terry invited him up, and McCoy Tyner was playing that night around the corner from the beer garden where I had put together these group of guys to play my original tunes that I was writing. So they came back behind the white curtain and backstage, and Derek, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? They said, McCoy Tyner, Al Jarreau, Richard Davis, and Clark Terry are sitting out front row.
Bro, come on.
I said,
come on.
Get out of here, man.
Come on, man.
I said, all right, set change. We're playing all my originals, and let's see how it goes and everything. So we played my stuff and everything, and McCoy had to get up and go because he had to do another set, but he sat through like 2 or 3 songs. He was smiling and looking at me.
That's a lot. That's a lot for him to sit through 3 songs.
Yeah. And so at the end of the second set, Al comes backstage and he goes, "You ever thought about coming to LA?" And thought never crossed my mind,
Of course not. You're trying to survive.
Yeah. I was just, trying to survive.
Sure.
And Richard says that you can play a pretty good bass, and from what I see, you play well, and you sing while you play, and you dance. And I went, yeah, I do all that. And he goes, "So I'm gonna give you a first class ticket to LA." And will you take it and come on out? And I said, sure. He's been play with me. I was sure. I sure would.
And this was how old?
I was 20, about 20
Okay.
or so.
I was gonna say about 20. Yeah. Okay.
About 20. Yeah. So I go out there and this little guy named Red Geller, he's I guess a roadie or something for Patrick Range Association. He handles all Al's. He shows up he had a sign that said Darek Jackson on it, and he shows up and he's in this little beetle bug, little red beetle bug, I've got two big suitcases and my bass, and he goes, "Why you got all that stuff, man?" I said, "Well,
What the fuck?
it's my gig. It's my gig. I mean, I was told to come here, and and he goes, you're just auditioners. There's like 28 guys before you." And I was like, "Oh no, man, this is my gig, man. I mean, Al told me, so
That's how they presented it to you, the audition,
that's how
like
it
it
was
was your
presented
gig.
to me.
Oh,
So
wow, these guys are too much. I got to
so
be
I have,
honest with you, man. Musicians never fail to amaze me.
oh, just it really it was something else. So
Slippery, man, so slippery.
I was so slippery. So I just said, well, forget it. So I met a few cats, and I just started. They had put me up at Sunset. What's it called? Sunset. What's it called? Sunset Hotel or something like that. Put me up there. There was this drummer named Omar Hakim, and then there's
No,
Marcus. They were
no.
playing with Sanborn, and they were staying in the same hotel with me. So they said, "You're here for the audition." And, well, actually, I was 22. I was 22, yeah. So, and he said, "Yeah, there's a lot of cats auditioning for the gig," and I said, "Well, I'm going to be the last one." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Unfortunately, Patrick Rains, he doesn't think you read very well, and Al's getting ready to go to Paris. This tour is really important, so he's got all these guys in there reading notes and playing Abraham Laboriel's parts and stuff like that." So finally, my date comes up. I'm hanging out with Omar Hakim, the drummer,
Unbelievable.
Marcus Miller. Because Sanborn was opening for Jerome. So they kept us all in the same hotel, so we became friends. So I go down to the audition, and Tom Canning is the keyboard player and supposed band leader and stuff.
Are you
You know,
serious?
yeah. And Tom Canning, comes in. He says, "Oh, look at this! I forgot the charts." And so I guess you're not going to be auditioning here today. I said, "I don't need any charts." And Alex Acuna, the drummer, he says, "What?" I said, "No, I don't need any charts. I know all three of his albums." And Al turned around and smiled. And I said, "Just call it to him, man." He called it to him. I said, "I'll need a mic too." He said, "A mic?" I said, "Yeah, just give me a mic." So he started calling tunes. He called Spain, and then he called Roof Garden. He started calling all these tunes, and I was just playing them. I mean, and
Roof
singing
garden
and
is
dancing.
not easy, man.
No, it was not easy. So then I got done. We get done with the audition, and Al shakes my hand, and then he gives me a big hug, and he goes, "Thank you, man." I said, "Oh, you're welcome." So take him back to his hotel. He took me back to the hotel. 2 days go by. I'm hanging out with Marcus. They're coming in the room, and we go walking up and down, Hollywood and stuff like that. And they see it, I'm nervous. And finally, I get this call, and they said, from Patrick Rains, he says, "You need to pack your bags and stuff. Well, sorry, we're going to take you to the airport, and we'll send you back to wherever you want to go." I said, well, Madison, Wisconsin would be fine. So I packed my bags up. I said goodbye to Marcus and Omar Hakim. Said it was really nice meeting you guys. This was a real shock for me. So I get down to the airport. I go up to the ticket gate. They gave me the limo. They gave me the whole schmeal, man.
They really treated you first class on
They
your way out.
treated me first class on the way out. So
Okay.
I go down there and the ticket gate. I said, "My name is Darek Jackson." They said, "Oh yes, we have a ticket for you right here." I said, "Yeah, it's Madison, Wisconsin, right?" They said, "Oh no, this is Paris, France." And I went, "Huh?"
Those motherfuckers. Are you serious?
Yeah.
They did
What
you
are you talking
dirty,
about?
bro.
My knees buckled, man. My knees buckled. And here comes Alex Acuna the Warner Brothers guy comes with a jacket with my name, Darek, on it, and the big W on the back of it, Warner Brothers. They said, "Welcome to the group." And
Amazing.
I just sat on the floor and cried like a baby. I
You're
was
gonna
like,
make me cry, man. Wow.
just like,
Wow.
it was like, it's like a Cinderella story or something, you know?
Come on,
So,
man.
you know,
They took you green as funk out of Cleveland, threw you in Wisconsin,
yeah,
got you on the plane to go to Hollywood. What do you got
that's
all those
it.
bags for, man? This is an audition. There's 20 people ahead of you.
And I beat them all out. I asked Al, I said, I was sitting on the plane. I said, how did I get the gig? He said,
I can
well,
tell you. You don't have to tell that story. But go ahead.
he, he said, Darek, I don't like people reading charts on the stage. I like people knowing my material. And he said, you walked in there knowing all of my material. It doesn't matter what song that I pull out, you were able to
You
play
were
it.
right there, yeah.
And
You're
he said,
putting on a
and that's
performance. You're putting on a show, man. You're not in the damn orchestra waiting for the conductor to lead you and have your sheet music in front of you. Yeah. And
yeah.
on
So,
top of that, you're 20 years old and you're like, I don't need any music.
in my
I'm
20s,
good.
yeah, I didn't need,
I don't need
it
any
was my
sheets. And
shot,
by the
man.
way, I need a microphone.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's how you capture attention.
Yeah, I was the first cat that ever sang behind him. He never had anybody, singing chorus behind him. You'll see that if you go to my YouTube channel and Darek Jackson, you'll see me. I was the first cat to do that, and
Amazing.
and so we went to Paris, and we went down to the Nice, and there's this other place called Salon de Provence. And
Yeah.
we went there for a break time. This is beautiful in France. It's a great. It's in the south of France. It's called Salon de Provence, and
Yeah.
we hang out there, and Al loved wine, and he got me into drinking, really good wine and stuff like that with him.
Oh,
And then we end up in Germany, and the next thing you know, I said, "When is this thing going to end?" He says, "Oh, we're on tour for months, Darek." And next thing you know, we end up in Japan, and they roll out a red carpet for Al. So I'm like, this is, whoa, look at this, and all the
did you
people.
not realize how big Al was at the time?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know he was that big. I
You
didn't
didn't
know anything
realize he's
about
an
the world.
international artist. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. So and I already had a fan club that people had been following the tour. And there's this kid, 22-23-year-old kid, and there was a girls' fan club already in Japan for
I'm
me.
sure. I'm sure.
I had to sign all this stuff and everything. So then
It
we get
looks
to
fun.
Brazil,
Okay.
and weather reports there. Alex Acuna's got a double. He's got to play with Al, and he's also got to play with weather reports.
You're
So I'm
blowing
meeting
my mind,
Jocko.
Derek. Are you serious?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
Oh
Jocko.
my God. Oh my God.
Man, I got stories, man. You have no idea. You probably have to do another one of these.
I got no problem doing another one. You went to Brazil and you played with Weather Report?
Yes.
What city were you guys in?
No. Jocko played with Weather Report. I played with Al. There's a guy that's there. His name was Hermeto Pascual. He uses a pig. He's whack, whack. And he's like a jazz genius, of Brazil.
Okay.
And he saw me playing with Al and everything. Sent 2 security guards up at the end of the Brazil festival, right? And they both grabbed me on each arm and they said, you must come with us. So what? You're going to Sao Paulo. So I'm looking at Jerry Levin, the road manager. He's talking with Al, and he's going like this. And Al said, "Let him go. Let him go. We'll just go with him." And Jocko's like laughing like crazy, and he's got that little sniff thing, stuffy nose.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Let's call it a stuffy nose.
Yeah, he didn't have a stuffy nose.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, that's how he got his stuff through customs and everything, because he had nose problems. So anyway, they said, we're going to follow behind you. And I went into Hermeto Pascual's limo and we're driving. And I said, I really would like to ride with the members of my group and just follow you. And he said, well, okay. And Hermeto didn't speak any English. He's Portuguese, They talked to him and everything. So I got back in the car and Jocko's driving. And Jerry Levin's on his right, and in the back seat is me and Al. So the limo goes on, it's going on. It just says, stay on this road. It's going to take us all the way to Sao Paulo. So Jocko's driving. The car is going like this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh shit. And then Al, he just looks up over, leans up over in the front. He said, Jocko, you got a driver's license or nothing? He went, no. He said,
Jesus.
Jocko, have you ever driven a car? He goes, no, but this is fun as fuck, man. So we had to pull over. I was like, pull over, please. You know, and so Al ended up
It was
driving.
remarkably calm, man.
Oh man, Jocko didn't give a shit. He just was happy he could finally drive a car. He didn't know how to drive.
No, but this is fun. Not for me, it's not.
No, it was not, man. So we get to Hermeto's house. We see where the limo stops. His wife comes out, washes my feet. I go in and his house, and he's got a piano set up. There's a bass already there. And he
Wait a
told
minute,
me
wait. His wife washes your feet.
Yeah, she washes the feet. They wash your feet before you can go in the house. Everybody's feet had to be washed. That's some kind of ritual in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
I'm sure some of your viewers probably know about this.
The first time I heard it, you glossed over that like that was common knowledge. I'm like, what's going on? No. You know, like they do in Sao Paulo, they wash your feet, man.
They wash your feet, man.
The guy's wife washed his feet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We played for about an hour and a half. His wife fed us. Oh man, because she cooked. She fed us really great. And you know, so I thought, okay, well, we better be heading back to Rio, you know, and everything. And Hermeto goes, he starts speaking Portuguese and everything. And the translator tells us, no, Derek, the reason that he wanted you to sing, he wants to take you out to play at one of his clubs. I went, okay. Oh, so we're staying in Sao Paulo overnight. He goes, yeah, well, it starts at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh, okay. So we go there.
You are getting an education. Maria.
Huh?
You're getting an education, man.
Oh, man. I'm playing with Hermeto Pascual and Tanya Maria on piano. You know, wow. Hermeto's got his pig and screaming there, and Tanya's playing that Brazilian stuff like that. And I start laying in that groove and everything like that. And Tanya looks back at me and she's like, wow.
What's going on here? Yeah.
And I ended up doing a small tour with Tanya Maria. I mean, I first had to go back to the States, but after that, I got to play with Tanya Maria. And also I did a stint with Hermeto Pascual. And I get back to the States and, you know, I've been writing all this time. I had a little cassette player, was doing songs, and Al would usually write in the shower. He wrote Alonzo in the shower, the tune Alonzo. And he would call me in to sit on the toilet seat while he was singing melodies, and I'd have my acoustic guitar and I would get the chords and I'd write it down, and then I would tell him, oh, you should go here, right there. He goes, yeah. Okay, now that matches. Oh, yeah. And we did that a lot, you know. So one day,
makes perfect sense to me, man.
Huh?
That makes sense to me. The showers are where some of my best ideas come.
Yeah, that's where it was for him. Mine is coming to the park. I go to a park or sitting on a train, and I'll get those. But anyway, he sent my tape in to BMI, and this is a good story for you right here. BMI was selecting 10 people in the United States to study with Burt Bacharach, Carole King, and Al McKay out in Beverly Hills at Burt Bacharach's home. So Susan tells Al, because she had heard me writing in my room, you know, and putting it on cassette tape. She said, Derek, can I listen to your tape? I go, yeah. She's done some really good songs. She said, mind if I keep it for a little while? And said, no problem. So they sent it to BMI. I got chose.
Wow.
So, you know, Al tells me, you've been chosen by BMI, 1 of 10, to go study in Beverly Hills with Burt Bacharach, Carole King, and Al McKay. Songwriting, arranging, producing. And, you know,
Burt Bacharach.
Yes,
Carole King.
And Al McKay from
Al McKay.
Yeah. And it was grueling. It was 5 days a week you spent there, 3 months. And this is off our tour's downtime. And so I had plenty of time in it.
What an
experience, I studied with
them.
They were hard on me. They would ask me reasons why why is the interlude right here? I mean, don't you think you're bringing that in a little too early? Carole King would say, you know, and I'll go, well, I'll think about that. She says, why don't you just go ahead Just go A, B, then interlude. Don't go A, interlude, then B. It sounds like you're just trying to play jazz. I'm trying to show you how to go from another direction for pop or R&B. And so I said, oh, okay. So I would rearrange different songs, and and I graduated from that at the top of the class, and I started. That's when it started from there, and I started playing with Ray Parker Jr., the Jazz Crusaders.
Sure.
I had a little black book, and whenever I went out to a club, I had to keep that book in my pocket because people wanted to hang around me because they wanted the numbers because Michael McDonald, everybody's numbers were in that black book. So
I mean, amazing. Wow. You're the only black kid sitting in that room too.
Oh, that's right. You got it.
Yeah, I know.
I,
I know.
I,
And I know the man teaching you at the Cleveland Symphony.
oh
Was a
yeah,
white, I know that was a white man.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I found I'm not even recognized in my hometown right now, and I've done 3 CDs here in Japan, and they've hit quite well, and of course I've got rousted, the production companies and record companies, they're thieves.
Mm,
So I'm
absolutely.
setting I'm setting up my own now. I've gone through 2 groups. This is my 3rd one. It's called Jaya, and you guys better be looking for them. Because see, when I was sent here by these people, by Al Jarreau and all these people who sent me here, it's because I know how to teach nuance. I know how to guide like a manager. The Japanese are all technically very well. They read well. They understand their instruments.
It's the culture, man. It's the culture. They're very
Yeah, yeah,
specific and
very
very
specific.
precise.
So Sony and this bass company called Aria and a bass company called Moon sponsored me to come to Japan to teach nuance, and to teach them to play whatever it is that they live, and
Sure.
I was doing seminars and stuff, and then they put me as a professor in a small college in Roppongi, and my class kept winning every year, so they had to get me out of there because it wasn't fair. My students were I mean, I've had my students dancing, doing salsa and everything. I said, you got to feel it first before you can play it. So, and
Sure.
that worked out. So I created the first group, Chicken Shack, over here, and exactly what Al sent me here to do, I had done with that group, and we ended up in the Bahamas recording, and about to sign with a European record label, a big one. I forget the name of it, and they refused to sign because they said, well, they're just not offering enough money. I said, this isn't about money. I got really angry. That's one of the times I got angry. I said, this is about them going international, which is what I was sent here to do. Is to
Oh,
And so we ended up going back to Japan. I left the group because the guys that I found them in just little small clubs and stuff, and they had the feel. I put them all together. It's like putting a puzzle together. They all painted a certain way, and it matched what I was trying to do. And as soon as they got a piece of that money and a piece of that fame, doing concerts and stuff, they just stabbed me right in the back. So I quit.
man. Yeah, no, I figured as much. I didn't know that part of it. I'm not surprised to hear you say that.
Oh yeah, it's brutal over here.
Well, man, look, I mean, you were in Beverly Hills. I'm 5 minutes away from it right now. Lived there for many years, literally. And
Oh, you've got a great career. I'll check you out. I was like, oh my
well,
gosh.
I mean, listen, I'm no Darek Jackson. Okay. Yeah.
I got a couple of friends that are very supportive of me here. They know what I'm doing. And Cleveland has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I've got friends
Yeah,
in
they do.
Cleveland. Yeah, that's where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is. It's in Cleveland, Ohio,
Sure.
and I'm not even recognized there. I mean,
I mean,
even
brother.
So my friends were talking about that yesterday. They said you're going to do this podcast, and they said, Darek, you can't do it all in one podcast.
No,
You've
you
done so
can't.
much.
I was just going to say we have got to split this up because well, for selfishly, I could sit on here and talk to you for another
Oh yes, I
whatever.
understand.
You know what I mean? For whatever,
Yeah.
for on and on, because I mean, you're just naming all the people who are like musical heroes of mine, you know. And as a white guy, all my friends are looking like, who what the fuck are you listening to? Who is this? I'm like, look, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't know who I'm talking, you don't know who Omar Hakim is. You don't know Al Jarreau. If you don't know Sanborn, if you don't know,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I mean, like, what are we
And Jimmy
talking about?
Smith too. I
Jimmy
played with him
Smith.
over here.
Thank you.
And Chuck Berry. I did a concert with Chuck Berry in
Yeah.
Yokohama here in Japan.
All
Played
right,
bass
I'm
with him.
done. I'm done. I'm not.
I'm
Give
serious, man.
this
The list
brother
goes
his
on and
due.
on.
Amazing. I knew you were downplaying it. I knew you were. And I said something to Reggie. I'm like, man, like Derek's like, he's like, yeah, man, just talk to Derek. Just talk to him. Like, all right, I won't say. I'll
Yeah.
just wait. I'll save it.
Yeah, I brought
Unbelievable.
Reggie out there. You know, I had rented a house with a pool and what's his name? Reggie. You know how Reggie is, man.
I
Reggie's
do.
my dude, man. We grew up together with his weed and everything. You know, and Hiram Bullock, the guitar player. You know,
Yeah.
he passed away, but
Did he really?
yeah, Hiram Bullock used to come up to the house to hang out because there was a lot of girls there. Reggie kept girls around, and Hiram can get his buzz on. So Hiram and Reggie were always hanging out together.
Did that guy ever put shoes on when he played? Ever?
No,
No,
never
he
did.
was always barefoot.
Do you know he was born in Osaka? He was born in Japan.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't know
he
that.
was raised in Japan, man, and
All right.
Hiram's always been like that. I mean, he had his issues, you know. He had his issues, but he could play his behind off.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Hiram except I discovered him. I don't remember what music it was, but then he got hired to be with on Paul Schaefer with David Letterman's band.
Oh
Paul
yeah,
Schaefer's band on David Letterman,
that's correct.
and I'm like, who is this guy? He's barefoot. He gives zero fucks, and he can play, man.
That's right. He gave zero fucks.
Zero
I
fucks.
love the way you put that.
He gives zero fucks, and that, I don't want to make it's the truth. I don't care. Listen, it's the truth. That threatens white folk.
Hiram, man, Hiram was the one who taught me how to jump off the 10-foot stage onto the backs of chairs of your fans out there and running around the chairs with a wireless bass and him with a wireless guitar, and we would be playing together, and just jamming and having a ball. And he showed me how to do all that stuff, and he did that with no shoes,
No,
and no socks,
Zero fucks, man. Zero fucks. I was out of his mind, and the only way he found his mind was in his music, and I don't know.
Oh, I
love
loved
it.
him.
It's beautiful.
Man.
It's beautiful.
And he introduced me to Miles, and then I'm hanging out with Miles. Miles had a small apartment in New York.
Yeah.
And Miles kept a 22 up the crack of his ass. He kept.
Oh, I heard.
And we go hanging out. I can't disparage the guy, but he would rip
complicated dude. He would rip drug dealers off.
He
there you go,
drug
folks.
dealers off, man.
I heard these stories for years. You saw it happen before?
I was there. I had to look out. I didn't know what he was doing. I was still 24 or something like that. I didn't know what he was doing. And then he said, okay, let's go, man. And I'd see a guy, shaking back there in the alley. And we go back to the house and he'd shoot up. And I just drink some wine. And he said, yeah, you don't want to mess with this. I said, yeah. I said,
dude,
why,
that's straight junkie behavior, man.
Yeah, but I said, why did you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, because I don't like white boys. So I was like, oh man. I said, most of my friends are white. so, I'm just like, so I finally I just had to go ask. I had to go ask. So I asked Dizzy Gillespie. I said, why? What happened to Miles?
What happened to Miles, man? Yeah.
And he said, Dizzy. Well, he's a son of a doctor, and his family had money and everything, and he went to Juilliard. And I said, yeah. I said, that's cool. You went to Juilliard. So one day, his professor told him, you got to quit going down there on 48th Street or something like that, whatever, 52nd Street or something like that, and playing that blues and stuff, it's never going to get you anywhere. And Dizzy said, Miles stood up and walked out and never looked back. And that's when he went and met Parker and Coltrane and everything. And you know, I got pictures. Coltrane's wife, I mean, he died, but his wife and was a friend of mine, and her kids, they stayed with me when they came to Japan. And actually, his daughter played. His son was kind of okay on the sax. He didn't play with me, but he stayed at my home. I lived in Omi at that time, and I let the daughter, you know, hit with me in some clubs and stuff like that. I was cool with the trains and stuff, but Miles was, you know, he had a chip on his shoulder.
That's what everybody said, man. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Because
the police
he grew up affluently,
huh?
but he grew up in affluence, you know, in upper middle class
Yes, that's
America.
correct.
And
Yes.
but he was of a bad anger problem.
Oh yeah, and a pimp.
Wicked misogynist.
Oh yes, he had girls on the street.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't want to disparage him because he's a genius. I mean, you know, Marcus Miller produced that one album with him, and a lot of people
Which
say, yeah,
one? Blue?
Marcus produced that. No, this it was a later one. Don't you know? It's one of his last ones. Marcus produced it,
Okay.
and people told me like, yeah, man, you know, Marcus produced it. I said Marcus didn't produce shit. All Marcus did was came in with an idea, and Miles he just wanted that.
manhandled that whole thing, huh?
Yeah, Miles handled the whole thing. You know, I knew how Miles was. You know, I asked him point blank, like, look, man, how come you don't call me for no gigs? He says, well, you ain't graduated from no college, you know. And these boys, man, you know, they all graduated from college and they are really popular and stuff. And it's about the money, Derek. You already got your own thing.
I was just gonna say, Derek. I mean, you got mad at those the European music group, not BMI, whoever it was. It's not about the money, and it's like, yeah, it kind of is about the money, but it's not underneath it all.
Yeah, it's about the money, and I'm 66 now, and I understand.
You wish you'd have made it more about the money, don't you?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I had a couple of mil, you know,
of course you did.
My wives took them, you know. I mean, the people got mad at me. They said, "You just gave the money to." I was married 3 times. You said you just gave the money away. And I said I wanted my freedom. I said, you know, I had kids and everything. They're all taken care of and everything, and I'm free now. I'm happily married right now, and my wife right now, you know, she's really good at what she does. She knows me well. Her name is Asako, and she's she's not scared of anything. She's like 4'7" or 4'8". I call her the little giant.
She makes up for the height with the personality. Fills the room, right?
Oh man, this woman. I've never been scared of anything, but cockroaches and her. Because they get in your ear, man. They get in your ear and cause all kinds of havoc. I posted it.
Listen, I understand. I'm married to a woman. She's 5 foot. She's 5'3"3/4" on a good day.
There we go.
Black woman, and let me tell you something. She will let me know what's going on.
But they don't play.
No. My mother-in-law didn't play. My sister-in-law don't play.
Her mother doesn't play. Her mother was on the phone with me yesterday.
No.
Oh God, they're like twins. I said that can't be your daughter.
Where do you think she learned, man? Where do you think she learned?
Oh,
hey, let me ask you a question.
Certainly.
Did you ever hear of or play with or know? I'm guessing you had to have saxophone player Wardell Gray.
I've heard of Wardell Gray. I thought you were going to come out with Michael Brecker or something because that was my boy. Me and Mike Brecker hung out a lot.
Amazing. You play with everybody, man. Wardell Gray. The reason I bring up Wardell Gray, his ex-wife Dorothy. Wardell died under mysterious circumstances. I don't know what the hell happened. He was in Vegas. It was back in the day when you had to go through the kitchen. Couldn't stay in the hotel.
And, I remember those days.
Yeah, and something happened to Wardell, and they never found the body or anything.
Well, at least Wardell. Well,
And so I
Well,
know Dorothy. Dorothy was my neighbor when I one of the first time, but it was back in 2000. She was my neighbor for about 4 or 5 years. We became very good friends, very close until she passed away. And so I would just listen to stories about Wardell,
he
and then
gambled, didn't he? He
not that
gambled.
she never
You brought
talked
up
about it.
Vegas, so he gambled.
No,
He
I
did.
don't
He
know.
had to
Maybe
gamble.
listen, maybe he did. It was Vegas. I don't know, but she never talked about it like that, and she would have told me that.
Well,
Look,
see,
I don't.
you don't pay your debts. I mean, that's what happened to Donnie Hathaway. You know, they said that he committed suicide. He ain't committed no suicide.
He
He
got
gambled. He
introduced to
didn't
the
pay.
window. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They just threw him out the window. You know, you know, you didn't have the money, so you know, you mess around with these thugs, man. And
No, I listen. I'm real clear. Yeah, I won't say anything. If my father hears this, he'd get upset. But
oh, okay.
yeah, my grandfather had a bad. He had 800
Oh,
pound grill on his shoulder.
it runs all through my family, man. I
Does
mean,
it? Yeah. I don't like to gamble. I don't gamble at all.
I don't do that. I don't gamble at
Not
all.
my
I
thing.
mean, I did a puzzle on Facebook, right? And I won, you know, right? And he said, you won $1,000, you know. And so
Bullshit.
message me. So message him. And I said, yeah, you can pay me through PayPal, you know. He said, how did you figure that out? I said, well, you know, I like puzzles, so I figured it out. And he said, this you? And he showed the $1,000 going into my account. I said, you know, just push next and I'll have the money. And then he sends under there, he says, this is a one-time offer. And if you buy 200 slots and 400 slots or something like that. And I said, hey, that wasn't part of the deal, you know. So I reported him to Facebook. I just reported him,
The
you know.
hustle. The hustle
Yeah,
is always
you
out there.
can't hustle me. Look, I come. My grandfather would sit on the porch in Cleveland, you know. He rocked in a chair and he would gum sugar babies because he didn't have any teeth, you know. And he'd just be watching all day, just rocking back and forth. And
It's amazing what you see
there,
if you just sit and watch the street. It's
yeah, he
amazing.
watched the street. I didn't know why he was watching the street. And then I
Wow.
found out because my grandmother would send me down to get some chicken wings and some fries in the brown paper bag. It would be oily, you know. And at night, they said, "Hi, little Derek." You know, nobody messed with me. And these guys all on the streets and stuff like that. I found out my grandfather was a gangster. He was a gangster. They were out there selling his stuff, you know.
No wonder he was on the street. He was keeping his eyes on his people. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but the thing was, is they shielded me from all of that. I wasn't part of it, you know.
It's amazing. You had such an innocence that you were able to kind of maintain. Well, I mean, I'm looking at you now. You still maintained it. And
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time, from the age of 12 and a half, when your dear mother passed away,
Oh yeah, man.
you were literally in survival mode. But it's this beautiful thing you've got, this beautiful spirit, Derek. You didn't let that shit wear you out, and you didn't let it grind you down.
No, 15
And
and a half. I was working at Greyhound in the kitchen,
well, that's
and
what I'm saying. I mean, it's really
my dad
easy.
came,
Oh,
and my
wow.
dad was rich in Cleveland Heights. He had a big mansion. The whole third floor was mine. I even had my own kitchen. I went to Cleveland
Your
Heights High.
biological father?
My biological father found me.
What did he do? You said he
He
was
was
a
a
jock?
writer.
He was a what?
He was a writer.
Jockey?
He was a writer, and he also worked
Oh,
for.
a writer. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He wrote about serial killers. There's a Kingsbury run serial killer. There's a Sweeney family, and him and his wife, who's Jewish. Her name was Marilyn, and she came from a family a lot of money. So my dad always married women with a lot of money. I found out, and that's how I met Reggie. I was at Cleveland Heights, and I went to school the first day. I'm in the lunchroom, and some kid comes over. I got on pink bell bottoms, some white stack heel shoes, and a velour sweater. And I'm straight from the hood, right? And so this guy walks over to the table and he puts his finger in my fish sandwich.
What?
And yeah, you know, and he says, "This is mine now." And I stood up and I beat the crap out of him. And Reggie will tell you, I beat the crap out of the guy, and they took me to the office. And you know, and I explained the whole situation, And they said, well, you're going to be suspended for 3 days.
Yeah,
That's,
schools don't care if you're defending yourself or not. I've
you know,
learned. I had to get in
I
fights
didn't
all the
care.
time.
You know, it was all white school, so so
They don't care.
so Rich, I'm going leaving out, and here Reggie walks up to me and he says, "You can't do that up here, man." And I went, "What?" He said, "Beat them up. You can't do that to them." He said, they're kind of like dumb. They don't know how to deal with African Americans and stuff. And
Oh, I thought you were talking. Reggie came up and did that. Oh no, white boy did that to you.
no, a white boy did that.
Oh
Reggie just
man,
now he just posted me. He commented on a link of mine on Facebook. Yeah, a white boy did that. So me
mm.
and Reggie became friends, and you know. Because I learned the ropes. I learned how to live in a rich society through Reggie.
Rich white
Before
society. Exactly.
yeah,
It's different. It's a different world, man. It's a different game. Different.
oh,
The whole
totally
thing's
different.
different. Totally different.
So you
Totally.
take all of that. You take extremely poor to middle class to rich, and then you take all of that, and those are your tools. That's your paint, and you paint every day. Like most people say, you're playing music. I said, no, I'm an artist. I'm painting. I'm a Van Gogh. I paint. And I tell people, read the biography of Vincent Van Gogh. And I said he might have went a little nuts. It's a thin line between genius and crazy. You gotta watch yourself. But I paint, and that's what I do. I've got these kids here, these Japanese, and you've got to hear them. I mean, they're incredible.
I'd
They're ready
love
for
to.
LA. Reggie wants me to bring them. I said I got to get some sponsors and everything, and I'll bring them over, and people
Uh-huh.
can see they can hang with the best. I
I
mean, they
believe
can.
you. I believe you. Wow.
I'm keeping you
I
going. Look,
no. I can't. I'm just. This is great. We got to do this again.
yes, anytime
I
you
mean,
like, man. I'm
I
writing a
like.
book. I'm going to write a book, and you've got me
You
going.
better write the damn book.
It's
I'm in
going
the
to be
middle of
fun.
writing mine. It's a whole thing. Get started now. Trust me. Wherever you start, you're an artist. You're a musician.
Yeah.
It ain't going to. It is not going to be the same book that you start with. Mine
Oh yeah.
started over here in this position, and then it went up here, and then it went down here, and then back over that way, and then it's down here, and it went on a hamster wheel, then it
You
went on a.
too?
Oh my God, dude, Jesus,
Oh man, you become
drive
one
me
of my best friends now. I keep my circle small.
drive me crazy, and I'm just like, dude, write it out, just relax, relax. I've never wanted to be an author. I never thought I was I've written stuff, but I'm not a writer. I'm going to write a book. Who the hell am I?
That's how I feel.
That's
But
how I
now,
feel all the time. I still feel like that about acting and everything else all the time. Like they're going to find out
but
any
you're a
minute
great
now. I don't know
actor,
what I'm
man. You're
doing.
great. You're
I
great.
fooled you. I fooled you too. Okay. But I mean, that's how it feels a little bit.
Well, I've been pushed now, and everybody said, and they're even gonna. Two guys, one of my band members, and another friend named Koji, who's friends with Michio Kaku. Like I told you, I'm into biology and science. I mean, that's
I'm
my
a
thing.
nerd that way too. I didn't want to say anything. I don't want to make you get too weird. I'm the same way.
Are you the same way? I mean,
Yes,
the
I
Dead
am.
Sea Scrolls and going back to the Sumerians and the tablets, and I'm totally into all of that. The Anunnaki, I'm into that stuff, man. It's
Okay.
heavily.
I was into that type of thing, and that's one of the reasons I got caught up in the cult. I'm not suggesting that's what happens to
Oh,
people. Yeah. And so when I worked my way out of it, the brainwashing, all that trauma and
oh yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
I got deep into neuroscience and the mind and the
Oh
brain
yes.
and linguistics and
Psych K,
persuasion.
Psych K. Have you ever heard of Psych K?
Of course. Yes.
Yes,
All
I'm
of it.
into all of that, man.
No. I mean, I had to. I had to understand what had happened to me, how it happened to me, the mechanisms, the dynamic at play, and me, it's just the ABCs of me. No matter what's going on, there's a part of me up here, like at the 30,000 foot, the airplane
Yeah,
view, looking down on it, like, oh, okay, I see. There's the river. Oh, that's the mountain range over there. Yeah,
that's it. I've
yeah.
got five
I
rules I
have
live
to.
by.
I have
You
to.
got to do it. You've got to set a parameter for yourself so that you can check yourself. I've got 5 of them. One is to be impeccable with my word. Number 2 is don't take anything personally.
Okay.
Number 3 is don't make assumptions. Number 4 is to always do my best. And number 5 is to be skeptical of what I think, say, and do, as well as being skeptical of what others think, say, and do. And that rolls around in my head every day. And I live by those principles. And that's why things are better for me now in my life. You know, I hope
Wise man.
I'm non-religious. I mean, people go into religion. I say, hey,
Oh,
if it works for you, good. That's cool. Me, I believe in my cells. I know them. They talk to me. They let me know. You know.
did you
And
say I believe in my cells?
yes, we call them cybo. My actual cells in my body. You know.
Right.
That's why I told you I sat in Bruce Lipton's class. He had tenure and he had to give it up because he found out. You know, he had the petri dishes and he put different environments with cells in the petri dish, and one he came back after the weekend. One was growing bone, the other one was growing fat, and another one was growing something else. And he realized that your cells actually they're sentient. I mean,
Yes.
they go down to the DNA
Oh
and they
no,
make
absolutely.
requests.
I can get
Everything's in the
granular with you
DNA.
right now, brother. I'm trying not to. I can get granular on it. No, absolutely,
You
absolutely.
see, you're trying not to do what?
No, I'm not trying. I'm trying not to get granular. I can explain that to you. I'm serious. I'm a nerd that way.
I'm a nerd that way
They're
too. I
absolutely
am.
sentient. And
There's
if
no
you
processed sugars, nothing. It's
no, you told me you're the man who
or
cooks
maple
all.
syrup.
You're the guy who cooks his own food all the time.
That's correct. I do that, and you know, I've got to go in the hospital. I'm going to have surgery finally because I've got this stenosis in my lower back. That's probably from carrying organs and stuff all my life and doing, playing after hours joint.
It could be, and it could also be genetic, man. I'm going to
Yeah.
lean toward it being more genetic than anything else.
Well, they told me I'm going to be dancing. They said there's only one stipulation there. They said we're going to go in. It's not that bad. We're going to fix it. You're just going to have to exercise for the rest of your life. I went, huh. I said, I can do that.
Take this pain away. I can do that.
I can
All
do
right,
that.
Derek. Let's call it a hail fellow, well met. And
Alrighty.
I'm going to reach out to you on via email. But
okay.
Can we do this next week? You think
you can do this next week? Look, I work from home. I work at my studio's right here in my house. Everything is computerized.
We will do this next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel.
All right, buddy. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Guys. Love you guys
Absolutely
too.
amazing. Yeah, this is
out.
fantastic. Take care. All right, man. Thanks.
All right, ciao, my friends. Okay, bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.